One doesn't need a weapon to be a legendary warrior and leader. Here's why that Mandalorian twist that has fans up in arms actually makes sense. Spoilers ahead. Hope has always been at the core of Star Wars. One need look no further for the proof than the adventures of Din Djarin and his adopted little green son, the newly renamed Din Grogu, on The Mandalorian. When the show began, Djarin was a ruthless bounty hunter living out of his spaceship and accepting any job that paid. However, by the end of the Season 3 finale, he has found a way to make a more honorable livelihood, secured a comfortable homestead for Grogu and himself, and helped unite Mandalore's myriad tribes against their shared enemy. Hope is similarly at the heart of Bo-Katan Kryze's journey on the show. Despite the exiled Mandalore ruler's completely justified wariness of Djarin and the extremist cult from which he hails, a close encounter with a presumed extinct mythosaur was enough to convince Bo-Katan to extend an olive branch to the Children of the Watch. Much to her pleasant surprise, the Armorer returned the courtesy, allowing them to unify their respective followers against Moff Gideon and his Imperial forces. That's not to suggest the Mandalorians' victory came without sacrifice, be it the death of their kin or the destruction of the Darksaber, aka the very heirloom Bo-Katan spent years fighting to recover in order to secure her claim to the Mandalore throne.
The Darksaber is gone.
But as inevitable and necessary as the weapon's dismantling was for both Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian people, the way it was destroyed was, to some fans, a bit confusing. Moff Gideon was the architect of so much of Bo-Katan's pain and suffering, so it was only right that she be the one to duel him while wielding the Darksaber in the Mandalorian Season 3 finale. Less expected, though, was Gideon's impromptu crushing of the legendary Mandalore blade's hilt mid-battle. Naturally, fans were quick to take to sites like Reddit after the episode to discuss this surprising turn of events, including whether the Darksaber might yet be reforged and how Gideon even broke the weapon in the first place. While the Darksaber's future remains up in the air, the question of how it was shattered is a bit more complicated. The blade has supposedly been around for over 1,000 years and, like most Mandalore artifacts, was made of Beskar. Even with his Beskar supersuit's hydraulic-powered gloves, Gideon theoretically shouldn't have been able to crush the Darksaber's hilt with his hands the way he did. Indeed, as we saw throughout the Season 3 finale, Beskar items are virtually indestructible, even when pitted against themselves. At most, they send sparks flying, like when Djarin went full John Wick on a hallway of Gideon's Beskar-plated Dark Troopers. It's plausible that we'll get an official explanation for how Gideon was able to do the not-so-impossible, but it's not necessary. Sure, it may read as a plot hole, and perhaps the show's creatives merely overlooked some key details while crafting an otherwise clear-cut, action-packed season finale. Then again, perhaps they didn't. If The Mandalorian has proven anything, it's that the Darksaber is more trouble than it's worth. Poor Din nearly lopped his own head off every time he used it. Moreover, superstitions surrounding the weapon led to Bo-Katan being blamed for Mandalore's downfall after she accepted the blade from Sabine Wren on Star Wars Rebels, which further fractured the Mandalorian people in the wake of the Great Purge. Just as those superstitions about Mandalore being cursed obviously proved to be nonsense, it doesn't take a huge leap to assume the Darksaber itself was never indestructible, as legend would have one believe either. As we saw over the course of The Mandalorian Season 3, it was Bo-Katan's willingness to play ball with the Children of the Watch and find a middle ground between them and the other Mandalorians that ultimately paved the way to Mandalore's salvation, not her regaining the Darksaber. Likewise, it was imperative that Bo-Katan find a way to defeat Moff Gideon without it, lest she find herself trapped in the same toxic cycle of staking her qualities as a leader on having the snazziest weapon in her arsenal. As Yoda famously observed in The Empire Strikes Back,
"Wars not make one great."
That goes double for objects designed to inflict harm upon others. In that sense, Gideon may have done Bo-Katan a solid by demolishing the Darksaber. As undeniably cool-looking the blade may be, the Mandalorian people are better off without having to lug around the weapon's baggage. Call it cheesy all you like, but the ultimate takeaway here, that hope is stronger than any material weapon, is as Star Wars as it gets.